I was doing the math.
Pretty easy math.
If you had been running a Dogecoin miner throughout the past several years, basically literally any model, including the ancient Antminer L3 that came out in 2017, you would be earning more than you're burning at most electricity rates. Hey, I'm Bos, you're out here on the VoskCoin mining farm. We collaborated with Gold Shell to release our limited edition mini Doge miner in 2021. Back then, these things were making like 20 bucks a day, but things changed and then they weren't all that profitable. I consolidated my mining farm, and while I still do run some box miners like you see over there in the corner, and I was running some over there, and I also run some over here, and I run even more upstairs.
If everything I'm doing in this video looks like too much work, check out Revolution Mining. They'll sell you miners, they'll run your miners for you, they make it easy. Link out below.
I did not have them all plugged in. Now I'm pissed, now I'm kicking myself, because this is your friendly reminder that if you have any of these devices, they earn more than they burn in electricity, most likely, unless you have some kind of outrageous rate. So I've been going through my stuff, finding all the ones I have that are still in great condition. I'm gonna make sure that I update the firmware on all of these devices, because when it comes to firmware on mining rigs, it can be important. Sometimes it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it can be pretty important. It can add stability. It can also just fine tune it so that it will have better longevity. I've been going through all my boxes, which ones have miners in them, which ones don't, and got a couple Ethernet switches on the way, and it's cold here, so I'm putting my devices everywhere, because out here, it makes this whole building warm for essentially free as a waste byproduct. I will need to have a different plan for these come summertime, but I've got several months to worry about that. In worst case scenario, I could just unplug them, right? Obviously, that's not my plan or my goal here, but a lot of these miners just a couple months ago were way in the red, but Dogecoin's pumped, right? And now there's triple mining with VoskCoin, and also there's basically quad mining with this other rabbit token on the horizon. And then there's also all the other script coins that you can merge mine on, things like Dutch Pool. Lucky Coin was just added to F2 pool as well to get those rewards. And the bottom line is Doge, in my opinion, is gonna keep going higher. The same for Litecoin and probably these other cryptocurrencies. So what am I waiting for to get these things plugged back in and online if they are not already? I've got one of my favorite power supplies of all time, the EVGA 1600 watt titanium. Oh, fuck yeah. This thing is incredible. This is an ATX power supply, right? This was originally for my GPU mining days, and this has the EVGA tester on it, which basically just lets you run it like a standalone power supply. It thinks that it's plugged into a motherboard. It's a little tripper device. There's a couple ways to do that, and just that's one of them. And on here, I have all these PCIe connections, right? These VGA connections, 6 pins, 6 plus 2 pins, and all of these will enable me to run mining rigs, especially these box miners, right? So here's a mini Doge 2 sitting here, not plugged in, not earning me passive income. Oh, a VoskCoin Tails edition too, I may add. No time to be a collector. I need to get that thing plugged in. Here's that walking the dog version as well. These take 2 PCIe connections. So I need to make sure I've got all the power to run these things. And let's kind of break this out on the screen. How much power do we need here? So I've been looking through my devices, right? And one of the things I'm going to utilize here is this EVGA power supply. It's 1600 watts. It can run on 120 voltage or 220 voltage. I would just go ahead and plug this into 220, 240 voltage, because if you have that electricity, why not? But otherwise this works in a normal wall outlet, right? Right, so I have 2 mini Doge 2 miners here. These are the Gold Shell models. They mine 420 megahash a second each of mining hash rate power, right? And they consume 400 watts of electricity each. That's 24/7, 365. We could talk about profitability all day if we want to, but the bottom line is they earn more in mined coins than they do in electricity costs, so why the hell wouldn't I be running them? It's like dollar cost averaging into crypto with an advantage, and also I run my operation as a business, so my electricity is an expense, becoming a tax advantage for me, but consult a professional, all that nonsense. So I've got two of those, right? 800 watts. I've also got a mini Doge Pro. That miner mines 205 megahash a second at 220 watts, so a little bit less efficient of a device, but still in the green now after the cryptos have pumped. And then I'm also going to add an original mini Doge miner. That mines 185 megahash a second at 233 watts of electrical consumption, bringing me to 1,253 watts. 80% of 1,600 watts is 1,280 watts, so I'm right well within that 80% threshold. There's a couple reasons you want to stay within 80%. Most notably, it's going to be the simple fact that it provides peak efficiency. If my power supply becomes less efficient, it ends up burning more electricity than it needs to run this stuff. And efficiency is the name of the game. If I spend less, then I'm earning more. Let me show you another way we could be doing this. This is a Bitmain APW7. That's a 1,800 watt power supply. These are basically their server style power supplies. These were made by them to run their ASIC miners, their bigger devices like the ones you see over there, but the current generations all have attached power supplies. So these are all 6-pin PCIe connections or VGA connections. This is a much cheaper way to power those devices like I just showed you. The reason being, right, is the EVGA power supply, very nice, very useful, and very expensive. One problem though, as I kind of think about this and work through this mentally as I'm talking to you guys right here, is the fact that the original mini Doge design sometimes burns out on the PCIe connection, and that could damage the VGA cable. So those miners were typically powered with these brick power supplies, like this one, for example, that have a max output of 300 watts of electricity, meaning that their output is sufficient, but it's kind of just pushing too much electricity through the inherent design of a 6-pin PCIe port. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to switch gears and use this Antminer power supply, this APW7, because it's cheaper and I just don't want to jack up my titanium power supply with a miner model that has been known to cause some damage to those VGA connections. I'm not worried about it burning the house down or anything, and this is actually even going to be deployed in my garage to basically just give myself free heat in the garage this winter. I'm also working on deploying solar with the extra capacity to run one full-size Bitcoin miner or equivalent 24/7, 365 all year, right? And I will have that project complete within 3 months. So I'm not reaping that solar advantage currently, but I am going to be reaping the advantage of these positive market conditions. I also want to have some gear set up at my house to make sure that when that solar goes live, then let me turn the lights on, that I'm utilizing it to its full advantage. The residential agreement with my electricity company basically means that I can roll over my electricity month to month, right? But in calendar years, it does not roll over. So if I'm not using everything that I produce throughout the year, then I'll lose it. And I'll be damned if I lose any electricity that, above all, that I generated. To put things into perspective, consuming around 30 amps of electricity all the time will make a 2-car garage always warm through the winter, at least here in Virginia, if not hot, and even depending on the weather, uncomfortably hot. Virginia is a weird state where some winter days we've got, 0 degrees, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, Dennis. And, other days, it could be 70, 80 and you're in t-shirts and shorts. But anyway, the bottom line is, based on my current garage size, it's a 4-car garage on my house, I want to be consuming at least 30 amps in there. And I say 30 amps, a 30 amp circuit, right? So like 24 amps, 80% rule, like 24 amps or something, right? Around the 80% rule. to just take that chill, take that bite off. That should, based on my advanced thermodynamic calculations, that should put me around 60 degrees in that garage through the majority of the winter, which will be advantageous for me when I'm working on cars in there or when I'm cleaning firearms in there, as well as protecting my lithium-based wireless tool batteries that I have a substantial investment in at this point, because Milwaukee keeps coming out with better and more expensive batteries, those bastards. So anyway, I'm gonna go and get to it. If you wanna learn how to do all this stuff, make sure to watch our how to set up an ASIC miner video, as well as just all of our other ASIC mining tutorial videos. ASIC mining is the most profitable way to earn passive income in my experience in this era. Really, that's all I have. So 10 seconds of tails as we run in every video. Let's close this video out in style. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.